Continuous interaction with the scientists, they'll be able to learn a lot more, and they'll be able to learn correctly.
Hi, my name is Alice from Infonet. Welcome to NileWell, the first online platform that connects environment researchers and journalists.
My name is Gerald Tenywa. I'm a senior multimedia journalist working with a New Vision newspaper, and I've been working there reporting on the environment for the past 20 years.
My name is Mary Akurut. I have a doctorate in engineering science, focusing on water resources and climate change. My research interests are in water quality, climate change around Lake Victoria, and I'm currently working with the Uganda Electricity Generation Company as the manager dam safety and water resources.
The scientists believe that their role is to work in the lab, do their research somewhere in a research office, and they have no business with the media. And yet, the media can add value to their work by reporting it and making sure that it reaches so many people. And this has been quite a challenge. The NileWell is bringing these two parties together to be able to interact, to be able to chase the mistrust that has been existing between the two parties.
NileWell is a unique platform. It helps to interlink the journalists, the scientists, students and other researchers. It gives you a platform to also link to your own work, and also it gives you updates on the current and existing information that you have on the Nile Basin.
You see, in many cases, the journalists, the first time, they may not get it right. But through continuous interaction with the scientists, they'll be able to learn a lot more, and they'll be able to learn correctly. I'm a living example of that. The way I was reporting 20 years ago is not the way I was reporting 10 years ago. And it is different from the way I was reporting 5 years ago.
It's important that we join this NileWell platform because it helps us to link between scientists and journalists and provides information to the public in a way that is really understood and information that is scientifically proven. So this is a good link that you need to join. So go NileWell.
So what are you waiting for? Create an account today by logging on to www.nilewell.org.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Sive. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be starting in a few. I can see a couple of you have joined us. Thank you so much. I'd kindly request you to type in the chat box your name, the country you're joining us from, your media house, and if you have an account on NileWell, feel free to send your link on the chat box so that anyone else who is willing to link up with you can easily link up with you through the chat bot. So we're going to go through, this is our first NileWell Science Cafe, and we are glad to host Dr. Mathias Behangana. But before then, I'll briefly take you through what InfoNile is, and then Andrew will take you through the NileWell platform. So, like most of you know, InfoNile is a geojournalist group of over 800 journalists in the Nile Basin. We cover stories on water and the environment, and we saw the need to do this through the NileWell platform by linking scientists and journalists so that they can be able to do these stories in a factual and science-based manner. So I'll give the mantle back to Andrew to take us up from here. Welcome, Andrew.
Right. Thank you, colleagues. Thanks, everyone, for joining. My name, once again, is Andra Ijuka, and I would love to welcome each and every person who is joining us now. And of course, just like how Delicate has shared, I will take you straight and tell you what is NileWell and basically how can you benefit from this platform. So maybe to go on, I will just allow me to share my screen so that I could show you perfectly how NileWell actually looks like. So for example, if you're looking out there and maybe you came across different pages, how could it be looking like? So that's how it looks like. That's how our page looks like. And of course, NileWell is meant to bridge the gap between scientists and journalists. And some of the benefits that are there on this platform is that as a scientist, first and foremost, you're able to interact with journalists, and this way you're able to sell what would be stories. You know, some of our scientists are doing research and probably we want these stories to be out there in the media. And somehow, somewhere, we find it hard to find the people that think like, you know, us in that kind of field. So this platform basically gives you that opportunity to make sure that, you know, you have like-minded people, and basically you can do a story with a journalist and have the story published. So this way you don't have to really be worried about whether this journalist is going to put out the right information, because actually you're working with them to build this story. Then the other thing that for journalists, what you can benefit from this is that this is where we usually this is where we usually send in calls. You know, this is the platform we use to basically send in our calls. For example, if we have maybe a call on some grants that are coming in, maybe for editors or for reporters, this is the platform that we usually put, you know, such great news and such opportunities. For those of us, maybe scientists who would love to find out who is, you know, in the same field like I'm in, so that, you know, maybe you can keep on sharing. This is also a platform for you, because here you find so many of your colleagues, and basically you can go ahead and share. I don't want to waste so much time. I hope you can see there is something like connect. If you look at your, if you type in nilewell.org, you should have an interface like the one I have on my computer that I'm sharing. But of course, also, as you can see on your top right, yeah, you see that, you know, there's a connect sign. So when you click on that connect sign, it should give you something like create account. So you should be able to create. And these are questions that can be asked by anyone. So with that, I would love to stop from there so that we go into some of, you know, one of the most exciting things that I've been excited about this whole week. And that's, you know, getting to know about, you know, the Nubian turtle. I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait for Doctor to really chip in and tell us more. But all these things can be found, of course, on NileWell. If your friends have missed out, you know, you can always tell them that the recordings shall be posted on NileWell. And of course, on NileWell, you have to get there by signing up and getting an account. So please, just like how Alice ended the video, what are you waiting for? You know, you should be joining right now. Thank you so much. We'll be posting the link of NileWell in the comment section, and feel free, please, to go ahead and, you know, join it. For now, I would love to hand it over to you, Delicate, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for the brief. And make a point of updating your account by filling in your institution and your photo and more details about who you are as a person. So we are honored to be joined by JRS Biodiversity Foundation, and we recognize that they are the ones who helped us in the development of NileWell. And the director, Director Matthew Caseta, is in this call. Thank you very much, Matthew, for joining us. I don't know, probably you'd be able to say a word at the end of this meeting. So I'd like us to dive into today's program. We are honored by the presence of Dr. Mathias Behangana. This is a lead herpetologist in Uganda, and his interests are in terrestrial biodiversity. Dr. Mathias has over 25 years research on biodiversity with a focus on Uganda's herpetofauna. He has published extensively about amphibians and reptiles of Uganda. That is exactly what herpetologists do. And then he has had a stint as a lecturer Currently, he focuses on studying Uganda's poorly known herpetofauna, such as what he's just about to share. So thank you so much, Dr. Mathias, for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, InfoNile, for inviting me to this first online platform presentation, first ever. I'm extremely excited for having invited a herpetologist to present what most people are not used to. You could have started with birds, you could have started with primates, but for one reason or the other, you chose herpetology, and I'm very excited. I hope the information I share with you will be of good results, will give you an insight into what herpetology is and what we study about. I'm currently a research associate with Nature Uganda under a JRS-funded project. That project at Nature Uganda is going to look at how to training at least 10 herpetologists in collecting data on amphibians and reptiles of Uganda. And we hope also train another 20 assistants out in the field across Uganda so that we have a lot of data that should be available in easily accessible websites, so that whoever is a manager, whoever is a researcher, whoever is interested in herpetology is able to have the background information against which to measure his studies, his management, his other skills. Right now, on the invitation by InfoNile to present to the first NileWell, I was excited because this is one other area which allows herpetologists to tell the world what we do best. The first slide, please. Herpetology, for all of you who don't know what it is about, is the study of amphibians and reptiles. These are two different classes of animals in the world. My presentation is prepared partly by Professor Luca Luiselli. Professor Luca Luiselli, I've been co-publishing with him since 2012 on various herpetofauna of Uganda. He got interested for things, particularly in herpetofauna, even other universities in West Africa. Currently has a project in Southern Sudan, in the University of Juba, under the organization called IDECC. He is also the chief editor, currently the chief editor of the African Journal of Ecology. And I'm sure if he's listening, and as we have talked before, anytime I get an audience, he invites all of us to join him to be able to disseminate information on herpetofauna of Africa, since he's the chief editor. You check the journal website and you find out the chief interest is in. He is a key, the lead researcher in turtles of the world. When he found out that this particular species I'm going to talk about was found in Uganda, he made contact with me immediately, and that's how you are going to hear about one of the most critically endangered species of turtles in the world. Next. The name of the species is called Cyclanobis elegans, and that's the scientific name. It's known in the English language as the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. Next. For simple classification, those who take you back to how we name organisms in systematics or naming of organisms according to the Linnean scale, according to the taxonomy, the species we are dealing with belongs to the animal kingdom or kingdom Animalia. It belongs to phylum Chordata or species with backbones. It belongs to the class of reptiles. It's a turtle. Don't go for a fast-running four-limbed animal or a snake, but for it, it has a shell on the back, the plastron and carapace on either side that help it to be protected, can withdraw its body into the shell and come out when necessary. It belongs to a family, the order Testudines, the turtles and tortoises of the world, including freshwater turtle and saltwater turtles. It belongs to the family Trionychidae. Trionychidae it's a very interesting family because in Uganda, we have two members of this family. One is the Cyclanobis elegans, the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. We also have Trionyx truinguis, which is also known as the Nile freshwater turtle, which is classified according to ICN as vulnerable. The scientific name is Cyclanobis elegans, and the person who first named it, it's called Gray in 1869, way back for most of us. All of us who are watching were born. From the screen, you can see, go down a bit, the Nubian Flapshell Turtle, that's the English name. The next slide. From the screen, I'm looking now at the status. What is the status of this species? I've used the IUCN red listing. That is a bar that shows all the species of the world and how they are listed. The species is either extinct completely and can only be found as a fossil or not there at all. The next level of highest level of conservation or of nomenclature of is a species can be extinct in the wild, but available in homes, in museums, and zoos. But this particular species is critically endangered. It can still be found in the wild, but the storyline is that it's not found everywhere. That's why it's said to be critically endangered. This species is categorized as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List and is one of the 5 most threatened chelonians of the world. According to Luca, it is the 2nd most threatened freshwater turtle in the world. It used to exist. The history of it is that it used to be there in the past in West Africa from Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, Cameroon, Central African Republic, and Chad, and then crossing into southern sub-Saharan Africa in Sudan, along the White Nile, that's in Sudan and South Sudan, where only a few museum specimens have been recorded or were known to have been deposited from the selected areas. Its presence now in Benin and Ethiopia is uncertain. Some species, we can look at them and say, oh, if it likes a wetland, if it likes mud water, where else can it be found? So we think that it could have existed in Benin, Ethiopia, but this is very uncertain. Next. That's a simple map from red listing of countries where the species was that brown color, if your screen is showing brown, that the story is was. The first 3 West African countries, regions from Togo, Central Africa, completely unavailable now, extinct, as in Swahili they say kabisa. You cannot see it there. You can find shells, some artifacts of this species in the museums. People can talk about it, and it must have been there in the past, but it's no longer there now. It shows you the level of extinction of this species from where it occurred. The brown on the right, which is in East Africa, Sudan and South Sudan, the species now is only in the lower part of the world, which is Sudan, and in recent times in Uganda. So this species once inhabited rivers from Ghana, Sudan, but now is extinct everywhere. However, in 2017, a research team led by Professor Luca Luiselli rediscovered the Nubian Flapshell Turtle along the White Nile in southern Sudan, and he made his moves from looking at extinct forms in West Africa and visited Juba and started the project with the University of Juba to do studies on this critically endangered species. Had he had colleagues and researchers come close to the border with Uganda, then they saw a species that was moving in between the borders of Sudan, southern Sudan and Uganda. And he called and he said, Mathias, there is something down there that you don't know. I said, what it is? What is it? And that's what it is, that the critically endangered species, the Cyclanobis elegans, is also in Uganda. More records are now coming up between Pakwach, just north of the bridge as you go towards northern Uganda, in Machon Falls, and the border with southern Sudan. This is the status, this is the map that shows you a bit of southern Sudan and a bit of the Nile and southern Sudan and a bit of Uganda. The yellows circled in black are the historical sites where the species was found. The yellows with red rings are the newly discovered sites, both in Sudan and in Uganda. From the Google map of the world, put some prints, some points of records. When we're doing a Nature Uganda project late last year, local people were even able to tell us some stories of some bizarre looking, very big turtles. And from those local knowledge points, we pinpointed some of the records, and those are some of the expected points where the species is expected to occur. So let's look at the habitat. It is a critically endangered species. It has been studied about in West Africa. Recently, Professor Luke has managed to do some thorough studies in southern Sudan. But the information on habitats is not reliable. It is generally understood that this species inhabits large rivers with muddy substrates. If you have a wetland with papyrus and Vosia and other aquatic plants that make big mud, this is the place where the species is likely to inhabit, but not well known. So we need more information about the real habitat. There's no specific information available on its food. What does it feed on? The largest recorded animal was a male which measured about 67.67 centimeters, the straight carapace, that is the cover at the back. And the weight was about 20.4 kilograms. The largest recorded female was 51.6 centimeters, the longest measurement of the carapace, and 11.3 kilograms. Animals may reach up to maybe 70 centimeters long. And from carapaces in museums and elsewhere in the world, it's predicted that the animal or the turtle can reach as much as heavy as 100 kilograms. That's quite heavy. There's no information on age or size at maturity, no information on reproductive output or longevity. There's hardly any information about this species. By analogy with other large riverine soft-shell turtles, such as Trionyx triunguis, a generation time of about 25 years is estimated. What are the threats to this species? Collection for local, the major threat of this species could be collection for local consumption that may occur or occurs and may be widespread and is intensive. If any significant population remain anywhere, as these animals are large and their meat is highly esteemed. The riverine turtles, like Cycranobis elegans, face very similar pressures like any other turtle. As you may be aware, or those who don't know, who are not very much aware, many people in the world love the big reptiles, such as pythons, such as turtles, for their meat. And so this riverine turtle and Cycranobis elegans itself faces such a problem, hunting for meat. The habitat of elegans has been mostly untouched by industrial development. However, there are several planned hydrological interventions upstream from the Sud in Southern Sudan. And this could have the power development, hydropower station being developed, causing denudation of riverbanks. This could have drastic consequences on the populations. In northern Uganda, where the species is expected to be, the area now has a lot of refugee settlements. And this could be, since it's one of the animals which people, like other reptiles, people love to eat. As people look for animal protein, this could be seriously consumed. So that's a big threat, how to handle, we need to look at it. Some reports have come in that some developers, e.g. for roads and other infrastructure, in Uganda, the biggest group who are involved in many infrastructure are Chinese. People think that they are highly involved in consumption of this species, and they pay high prices for a single kilo meat, sometimes at a higher price than the local people. What are the uses and trade functions? One of the uses is human consumption, and it is very much widespread. Like its other relatives, like the Trionyx triunguis, the Nile soft water turtle. In Uganda, we have had records where people, a whole village of 20, 30 people, if a turtle is caught, they just gather around in big numbers and ask for any piece of meat, any piece of material for food, for medicinal purposes, for juju, or other storylines people want to develop. And for the Ugandan relative Trionyx, I found out that this vulnerable species, the relative of Cycranobis, people had shell carapaces, the covers, the hard shell, and people were ready to give me a shell at 30,000. I said, no, this is for scientific purposes. If you've already killed it, bring the shell because it won't help you. But they thought, no, it has medicinal value. So such species such as Cycranobis are likely to face such difficult threats. And as such, it's already critically endangered. With more threats, you are likely to get it we are likely to see it get extinct from the wild. There is nothing in Uganda of a species which is extinct, that it is being housed somewhere in the Uganda Wildlife Habitat Center or elsewhere. We've only known about this species in recent times, although the local people have local knowledge about it.
Hi, everyone. We are still proceeding. Seems like Daktari has a small technical problem. I can see he's back online. Yeah, Daktari, you can carry on.
So we've just concluded the threat level, as I indicated, and let me repeat the second area of concern: uses and trade of the species. I've indicated that the human consumption of livestock shell turtles in the world is widespread. In East Africa, where the species, Sudan and Southern and Northern Uganda, where the species are found, it's also expected. I indicated that one of the soft shell turtles, like Tyronyx trilinguis, the Nile soft water turtle, is killed all the time along Lake Albert for food, for medicinal purposes, for juju. Juju means voodoo, juju, but artificial medicine, witchcraft. People love it, and the price can go as high as 30,000 a carapace, the shell, for even the vulnerable species, the relative of Cyclanobis elegans, particularly in Uganda. South Sudan, in Southern Sudan, turtle eggs are opportunistically collected by pastoralists who bring their cattle to feed on the toxic grassland that form when the flood waters of the Nile waters recede. Collection for the pet trade is not currently considered a threat to the species, and it has not been recently reported or to have been exported. Conservation actions, what do we need to do? We've heard that the second most critically endangered freshwater turtle in the world is Cyclanobis elegans, the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. We've heard that is critically endangered in the wild. It's not even available in zoos or education centers. It's only found in the wild. Surveys, it is not known with certainty to occur in secure protected areas. The only places we've had it's recorded is along the White Nile, between Juba and north of Pakwach in Marshall Falls area, northern Uganda. Along the Nile, hardly in any protected area. That means areas where it exists are easily accessible by anybody. And since it is large, we indicate it can be as big as 100 kilograms. The average is 26, 30. Why people are interested in the size, the meat, the cultural values they attach to it. Chances are they will continue hunting for it and will even run extinct in the wild. Surveys of the distribution, population status, and population trends of Cyclanobis elegans are urgently required, including to describe and evaluate the exploitations and other observed and potential threats that this species has. across the range and with emphasis from Sudan, South Sudan, and Uganda now, where it has only been recorded occur. Conservation measures, possibly including establishment of a community area, a formal protected area, a final protected area, something that can protect this species from getting extinct, and measures to manage targeted capture and reduce bycatch in fisheries are urgently needed. The fishermen use a method in Uganda called kokota. They get a wire mesh, a net of any size, of cloth sizes, and can capture anything, including the silver fish. And they throw it several hundred kilometers into the lake. And at a certain time, they pull everything that the net can capture. And most of the time, these water turtles, that's how they are captured. And when they capture it, a whole village, a whole community will come and struggle to get a piece of it. So we need several conservation measures that can help to reduce the bycatch in fisheries and the other capture methods that are used in getting this flapshell turtle. Way forward, Professor Luca Luiselli with the Turtle Alliance, he's, I think, the vice chair, and his other colleagues, and through his fundraising mechanism, through the several projects with South Africa and Southern Sudan, is bringing this further research into Uganda to find out what is in Uganda. And since the species crosses borders, how we can do conservation and protection of this species across the boundary. And together with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Turtle Surveillance and Rainforest Trust, we have started. He's looking for funds out there, and he hopes to come one of these months. And we first find out through a feasibility study what level of, what status, where is this species found, and what level of extinction the species is located in. These are some of the pictures which, when we took from Southern Sudan and Northern Uganda, the possible sites, possible riverine forms, habitats, the species could be located in. The picture below, where you see a gentleman with the yellow and orange cap is cutting some animal, that is the other water turtle, which is called Trionyx triinguis, which was captured along Lake Albert. And one of the times when we're doing work for WCS, birders, people were doing bird ornithological work, bird counts, found a whole village gathered trying to collect meat from a turtle. This is how it almost looks like. But this one, which you've seen here, is Trionyx triinguis, the Nile freshwater turtle, which can go as big as 20 kilograms. It is a darling, a delicacy, and a very heavy sought-for species along Lake Albert. We expect the same threat, such as this one, occur for the larger species, the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. So these are the targets, the aims and objectives of how to protect this critically endangered species. The goal of the project, which Professor Luca and I are looking at, is to avoid the global extinction of one of the most threatened turtle species in the world. Objective one, we need to find the current distribution and get the floor for an estimation of population size of Cyclanobis elegans in northern Uganda for the Ugandan section. He's already doing the same function in southern Sudan with the University of Juba. So when he comes on board, and I've told him now that we are having a linkage with GIS and Nature Uganda, we can expand the level of interaction. And since Nature Uganda is well known in conservation and research on species, we have invited him to see how we can link up with the Nature Uganda and do several research measures, find out the population or what is out there. We need to conduct awareness campaigns with local communities and government agencies in order to enhance local protection for this exceedingly rare species. Objective 3, we need to enhance the capacity building of local communities through training of local young scientists for future improvement of the conservation management of the species at country level. And with those many words, that's the story about our critically endangered freshwater turtle of Africa, the second most critically endangered water turtle in Africa, the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mathias. That was quite insightful and in-depth, and you have really put it well in a nutshell. Thank you so much. I have a few questions for you, because I'm sure some of us also share the same sentiments. Would like to know, as journalists, what is really the importance of the Nubian turtle to the ecology and specifically to humans? Because most of the stories we do should be human-centered, should have a human touch to it. So we'd like to know how important is it to not only the ecology, but even to us as human beings?
I beg your pardon, question. Kindly repeat your question.
Okay, so I'm asking this from a journalistic point of view.
Yes.
The stories we do most times we have a human-centered approach. So we'd like to know what is the importance of the Nubian turtle, not only to the ecology in terms of other animals, but also to human beings.
Oh, turtles have several importances. We as scientists know them; they are important to the wild as they feed on several things. They manage their own environment. But as human beings, one of the things we usually ask ourselves when we are doing conservation is, what is it for the human being? There are several functions, there are several purposes some turtles have, which can be beneficial. We want to remove the function of being food to you, being medicinal values to you, being a culture. Let's look at the other good functions it can provide. Such a big turtle could be a target species, a charismatic species, a species that can give a name to an area. If you have a culture where you don't have white rhinos anymore, where you don't have something big, an elephant, these critically endangered species can draw reasons for people's concern. More so scientists, but now local people should be able to know that it is an important species that is charismatic to the environment. Local people can also use it, can also use such turtles, particularly these highly elevated species for tourism purposes, for education, and for research.
Point taken. Another question I have is, having realized the Nubian Flapshell turtle is critically endangered, what stories can journalists pick from this research? What are the specific areas we'd like us as journalists to pick? And so that we come up with stories that would spark action, not only among the general public, but even from the policy makers.
Yeah, the journalists should be able to go on the map I showed you earlier on how things disappear. If you get such a big guy like the Nubian Flapshell Turtle disappear in West Africa, in Central Africa, and reducing in size of occupants or occupation or distribution in Sudan and Southern Sudan, if such species can disappear, you should also link yourself, the species and your relatives and related organisms that we dearly love. If something disappeared, it means the storyline can also follow. What reasons caused its disappearance in there? What reasons are causing it to disappear in the current localities? How can we prevent? So using the Nubian Flapshell turtle and other species that are disappearing and becoming endangered, critically endangered, and also disappearing completely, we can use the storyline on how we can conserve ourselves, because if such a big guy can disappear, why not the human race? What are the mechanisms that we can put in place to conserve this species that we need also to foresee as being those equally good methods that the human race can put in place to preserve or conserve and extend his survival on the Earth planet.
Thank you so much, Dr. I can see Richard had asked the same question as I had asked on the ecological importance of this species. I hope, Richard, you answered, and how it contributes towards biodiversity to necessitate its conservation and protection. Richard, I hope you answered. The other question, not necessarily a question, but a concern. I can see Jonathan had said that he checked on Google Maps and realized that, just a minute, it showed that the turtle could have had a habitat under the Enyau Bridge in Arua City, and now the bridge is under reconstruction. Dr. Lee, what do you pick out of this? There being reconstruction, we understand that, of course, the habitats will be affected. I don't know whether the necessary authorities are aware of this and what measures have been taken to ensure that they are not affected.
I'm happy that he has highlighted one of the threats. Developments we had earlier on indicated some of the threats include the new developments that are coming into the region, dams for hydroelectricity, particularly in Southern Sudan. But we also have threats by construction of bridges across the Nile, across the tributaries of River Nile, particularly River Enyau. Not only that, people now are harvesting sand along the rivers of northern Uganda. Some of these habitats, most of the turtles, by the way, lay eggs in sand. So such bridges, such sandy expanses along rivers could have been their breeding areas. You remove an organism's breeding site, you hunt for it, those are threat number 2. You construct bridges and dams, you are squeezing the area where the species can be found. I'm happy that you have highlighted one of the threats, and those are some of the things we need to look at when we are looking at the conservation measures put in place.
I can see Frank Oyubi is also asking, actually it's a comment and a question at the same time. The government is the greatest beneficiary of the tourism industry. Since the publication of this research, what has been your reaction, especially in the question of protection areas? The reaction of the government or the reaction?
For that question, as you realize, the way forward I presented shows you we have some little information about the Nubian Flapshell Turtle, Cyclonobis elegans, in the current honorary localities where it's found in the world. The next level is we need to go out there, find out where it is, and use that information. Data is very important. Let's present to them the locality where it's found, the threats it's undergoing, the localities, the threats, and the distribution, so that we are able, if it is not found in any protected area, Jai or Zoka or any other wildlife reserve, that's the data we can now use to advise, to encourage communities, the one who live with it, and also government on methods of conservation, methods of protection. That's why I indicated our dream in future, if the species found that is relatively stable, can be enhanced to be more stable, is to, can we encourage some level of protection for it, and a culture and the communities, or can the government take on responsibility of protecting it in some form? It could be the several levels of protection government usually offers to different species, to different areas. So it's, the information is scanty, and what we are doing is like disseminate the information that is there. What should we do? Let's look out for it and see how to conserve it.
Okay, thank you so much, Daktari. I'm not seeing any other questions. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat box. Other than that, before we move on to the next section, we are winding up. I'd like to emphasize that this session is also running on NileWell platform under resources. I'm posting the link right now. You can easily go there later on and refer to this video and also to the presentation that Dr. Mathias has shared with us. Other than that, I hope you have been taking note of the important facts that Daktari has shared with us. I'll move on to Andrew. Andrew, feel free to take up the step to share the questions and answer, ask the questions and answer. Andrew?
Okay, thank you so much. Don't mind about the name tag. I'm not Dr. Behangana. I must remind people, yeah. But I'm just, taking over his seat for now. So just like how Delicate was saying, right now we are going to test ourselves if at all we have been paying attention. Those instances where the teacher comes in at lunchtime and says good morning to test whether you guys are attentive. So anyway, I'm just going to ask if at all any of you are listening in or taking notes. So one of the questions I have for us, and once you win, there is a prize. So one of the prizes that we have is you will win a bottle. So I don't know if you can see the bottle very well, but you'll be able to win a bottle. That's if, you continue answering these questions very well in our Wednesday cafes, which we have named Wednesday Science or Science Wednesdays. Sorry about that. I usually get the names wrongly. But allow me to ask the first questions. So one of the first questions that I want us to answer or to think about is what do you understand by critically endangered species? So you can go into the chat box or the comment box and you write for me the right answer. The first person who will register this person and follow up. So at the end of the month, since we are having this going on every Wednesday, we will be able to see whether these guys are really, you're really paying attention. So like how I said, what do you understand by a critically endangered species? Doctor was telling us what it is. So let me see some answers coming through the message box. If you're still writing, yes, I can see Suzanne. Suzanne is just thanking us. So guys, I need answers. I need answers. Someone is saying the network is not clear. Okay. So Frank Oyuji says this is a species which is not protected, could eventually go extinct. Doctor, do you think that's the answer? If I'm to ask you and say what is critically endangered species, do you think that that would be really the answer?
It says the species which is not protected.
Yeah, protected could eventually go extinct.
It could be protected or not protected.
Is it vague or right?
And also they protected. But the big issue is the species whether protected or not. Since this is the talk show, yes. The NileWell, I think he deserves to drink some water.
Okay.
Yeah, we are on the NileWell.
So that's fun. We are sharing the screen with Doctor, so please, guys, allow us to share. I mean, just like, we are trying to put up NileWell so that scientists can be able to connect with journalists. This is the kind of connection we want, so that I can be able to tell the story you have in mind. So maybe the second question is, what is the name of the critically endangered reptile or species in Uganda? What is the name of the critically endangered species or reptile in Uganda? I think even the reptile bit of it was even a question on it. So do people understand what reptiles are? But let's first get the answer from that second question. So please, someone is saying they didn't get the question. So we are asking, what is the name of the critically endangered reptile or species in Uganda? Yeah, that's the question we are asking. And we have just been talking about this species, Doctor. You spent almost like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I talked about all reptiles and the only reptile species that's endangered in Uganda.
You know, before we get the answer, someone is saying the freshwater turtle. We need the exact name of the turtle. Ding, how are you? I see you. I need the exact name of the turtle. Yes, and for you, Ding, you shouldn't fail this. Yeah, I can see Frank gets it again. He says it is the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. I think Frank is doing good.
Excellent. Oh, yes.
Thank you, Frank, so much. Then I see Jonathan, also Jonathan, how are you? We met Jonathan in Kasese. He was one of the people that were attending the Biodiversity Conference. Davis Buyondo, greetings to you. I know Davis. Davis is also a journalist from New Vision, and he has done several stories around water, but he's based in Masaka, but I think he moved to Kampala. But greetings to you, Davis. So thank you so much, Frank. Frank has gotten that one too. So we will go to the third question, which is the second last, which is where.
Wait, I would like to, as we move along, we don't want to bring very scientific names. The easy name is Nubian Flapshell Turtle. Kindly also read yourself from the presentation. I think they will share the scientific name because it pulls it out from the many other things.
Okay.
So the scientific name is Cyclanobis elegans. Elegans, great, elegant. So think about an elegant reptile species that you would wish to meet, but it's very difficult to meet because it's critically endangered.
Yes, I can see Rita says Renzori red. No way. So we have been talking about the Nubian Flapshell Turtle. That's the one that, you were asking about. In our third question, we want to know where in the world is this critically endangered species found? Where is it found? So you can tell us, in the whole world. Yeah, where is this Nubian Flapshell Turtle found in the whole world? Kindly tell us. Yes, I see Victor Motori says Uganda, which I think is right. Yeah, that's the first right answer. Maybe you could give us another country where you think this critically endangered species is. Someone says Frank. Oh, Frank is really, Frank, we need to know whether Frank maybe is your student, Doctor, because it's
Andrew.
Too much, he's getting everything.
I'm not sure.
Yes, Frank gets it again. And of course, Frank gives us the two countries, that's in Uganda and in South Sudan. Thank you so much, Frank, for paying attention. We will go straight to the fourth question. And of course, we will say,
Andrew.
Yes.
I think for this question, it's Davis who got it first.
Oh, Davis.
Yeah.
I'm getting to, Davis. It's actually Davis. Yeah, Davis. I'm so obsessed with Frank. Number 3 for Davis. Yeah. Davis, thank you so much, and Deli, thank you for that correction. As a teacher, I think you get so happy when you see one student passing. Sometimes you forget and you give him the marks of others. Yes, we'll go to the fourth question, which is give some reasons why the species should be conserved. Why should we conserve this Nubian Flapshell turtle? What are some of the reasons that Dr. gave us, that we should be concerned?
Yeah, that would be great. They may be almost asking me the very question. I'm happy that the question is back to them.
Yeah. So I think Ding says tourism, which is really nice. I think tourism attraction. K. Emmanuel also has that one in mind, tourism. Then for future research, that's Davis Buyondo. Really interesting answers coming from Dennis too. I think Dennis is the second brightest student we have for today. Yeah, we hope even next Wednesday, Frank and Davis, you can pay that much attention. So Frank goes ahead and says tourism and academic purposes, which I think those are the two things you highlighted.
Yeah, the question was asked me, and I answered a bit, and I'm happy that you were all listening in. One of the key areas that can give us the human aspect of why we should conserve it is tourism, because it's nice, beautiful, and can bring a lot of attention for anybody who wants to see something critically endangered. Tourism is key. Research is equally good.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, colleagues. With that, we come to the end of the Trivo segment. And don't forget that, of course, Science Wednesday or Wednesday Science, Catch of Infonet will always be on every Wednesday. Catch us on our social media to get those links so that you can be part of these interesting conversations where we bring together scientists and journalists. Today, we have been having Dr. Behangana, and of course, he has been sharing about the Nubian turtles. And for now, I will, throw it to you back, Delicate. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew and Dr. Behangana. I would like just to get your confirmation, Dr. Who got the first question right about the meaning of critically endangered. The first question, question one, I didn't quite get who got the first question right. So the first question one. Okay, so Frank won 2 questions and Davis 1 question. Okay. Okay. Frank. Davis. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We have come to the end of our session today. I'd like to emphasize that we shall be communicating the next Science Cafe to our NileWell users. We hope you have learned a thing or two, or even something very new today on this platform. Make a point of creating an account on NileWell. And then on NileWell, you'll be able to get access to our bi-monthly communications, events, and opportunities we often post there. And for this particular Science Cafe, it was live. We have shared the link a couple of times. We'll still share it again. Feel free to visit the NileWell platform to rewatch the session today and also have access to the presentation that Terry has shared with us. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.